their trade targets or potential players leaving. So the Adelaide Crows, we start with Elliot Himmelberg, obviously a massive talking point last year, potentially joining his brother at the Giants. Looks like now he's weighing up some interest from the Gold Coast Suns. So obviously was out of favour from Matthew Nicks a lot this year. If I'm the Giants, I'm re-looking at that, to be honest.
I am.
I think that they struggled this year with that second forward, especially in the final series, had to use Lockie Keefe. And Lockie Keefe's just getting a bit old now. I think Elliot Himmelberg's definitely that guy who can pinch hit in the ruck, but he's a capable forward.
I think the Crows will be stupid to get rid of him. I think that he is a capable forward. I think that signing Taylor Walker again was not the right move. I think they needed to look at it because Lachlan Gallant can't do it.
I mean, he kicked 5 goals against you.
Yeah, all right, one game.
Yeah,
it's like, well, that's the Mason Cox world, all right.
Yeah,
but I'm just saying, the Crows, I think, will regret that if they get rid of him.
Yeah.
If he goes to the Giants.
Yeah, and on the other side of it, the Crows look like they have a couple of good players coming in. Obviously, Alex Nilbull and Isaac Cumming have elected to go to the Crows. Elsewhere, it looks like the Gold Coast has told to assess his options and could bolster the Crows' forward line. I think that's definitely a good one they could look at. Definitely would pair up with Isaac Rankin, but there hasn't been really too many talks about Malcolm Rose's looking at the Crows.
Yeah.
I think as well there's been some talk that the Gold Coast are just going to just hold him up anyway. On Brisbane, players that could leave. Devon Robertson obviously played in the 2023 Grand Final, fell out of favour this year and is looking for a fresh start. Very interesting as well because he was looked at by West Coast last year, decided to stay and then never got in the team. So he's a Western Australian. I think it was West Coast who wanted him last year.
I wouldn't be surprised. He should be looking WA. I think both teams would probably be good to have him. I think.
Yeah, it's a midfield depth. I think probably West Coast is more likely.
I think West Coast is better option, but I would he can play a bit in that Freo team. I think.
Yeah, Jackson Pryor is another name that could be on the move with a halfback still without a deal for 2025. It looks like Essendon have been a bit involved with Jackson Pryor.
Yeah.
I think there'll be a couple of. Usually when a grand finalist makes it, there's a couple of players that potentially want to look to move on because they missed out and can't break into the premiership team. So they're kind of on the fringes. So another club to look at for Brisbane, they are looking hard at these small forwards. Malcolm Roses has kind of been half linked to the Brisbane Lions. If the Gold Coast continue to get rid of their good players, like they've done it with Jared Lyons, and then he became pretty decent at the Brisbane Lions, and obviously the premiership hero in Cal Archie. If they do this with him as well, Malcolm Roses, and they just give, look, we don't really want him, we're just going to send him down the highway, whatever the fuck it is, and they give up Malcolm Roses to the Brisbane Lions, I'll be fucking ropeable if I'm a Gold Coast fan. Like I said, Matt Always has also been looked at, and obviously Levi Ashcroft, not really much of a trade rumour, but that would be nice. That'd be really nice next year. And another academy prospect in Sam Marshall, so that's going to be good. There's also been a little bit of interest from Jack Martin, but I don't think that's going to happen. On Carlton's side, for players to leave, Matt Always, I still can't believe they're looking to get rid of him. I feel like, and I think it was mentioned in a report that the main reason why they're doing it is because all their other small forwards are signed and they need to clear some cap space. So that's the main reason why they're doing it. I would still fucking trade out one of the other ones. I'm being honest with you.
I don't know.
See use the lure of Corey Durden's not doing it for you.
I don't know why they're not getting rid of him over Matt Always. I think he was very stiff to miss the prelim last year, Matt Always.
Yeah.
And
clearly he's having sex with Michael Boss's daughter or something.
It's got to be something like that. Because, there's something wrong there because he's not an A grader. We're not saying that, but he's a decent.
I mean, he kicked 30 goals this year in a forward line that had Curnow and Mackay.
Yeah, it's not like it's who's kicking the goals if both of them are not kicking it. If you get rid of Matt Always, well, what you got Motlop who did nothing again this season. Yeah.
Jack Carroll could also be heading back home to Western Australia. That'll be an interesting one. And Matt Kennedy looks like now will stay. That's still a talking point. Obviously, Lewis Young is probably on the way out. And now Carlton on the way in. They want so badly Dan Houston. He said he wants to go back to Victoria, but has said that he is okay. If they can't get a deal, he'll stay at Port Adelaide. But I feel like at this point, he's probably going to go.
Pretty much, you guarantee it.
Yeah, I feel like if he goes back, he's going to have to mend a lot of bridges.
Yeah,
he's
pretty much said,
I want to stay.
A month ago, I'm staying, I'm going to stay. And then 3 weeks later, oh no, I'm out.
Yeah. Nick Haynes obviously should be able to play. He'll get there pretty easily as an unrestricted free agent.
Do you think he will actually play though? I think
he will. I think he's definitely got some more footy to offer. I think there's going to be there's going to be a huge structural change for Carlton next year up forward, because I think they know now that they're not going to win a premiership just bombing along to Colonel and Mackay. They need to find a third
so let's
option.
get rid of our small and Matt Owies and
Yeah, well, I still don't know what they're doing about that.
Jordan Boyd, the defender down there.
You think they'll do that, do you?
Well, they're trying anything, aren't they? They're going to flip the magnet.
Yeah, let's chuck Pitnet up there, see what happens.
Why not?
Essendon defender Jaden Laverde has also been linked to the Blues. I think that wouldn't be a bad one, but I mean, if they're picking up Nick Haynes, why do they need Jaden Laverde?
Yeah, well, you're looking at it. It's like, well, what they spent so much money on Mackay. Let's just get rid of Laverde.
Yeah.
That wouldn't have been fine.
Mackay the fumbler.
Yeah.
Anyway, looking at Collingwood players to leave, obviously John Noble's requested a trade to the Gold Coast. Joe Richards has retracted rival interest from Port Adelaide, so that'll be interesting how that one plays out. While Finlay McRae and Reece McGuinness have been struggling to cement their spots in the best team and remain uncontracted. I'm
surprised McRae didn't leave last year.
Yeah. Also, Nathan Kruger. I feel like Collingwood have to hold on to at least McRae and Kruger. I mean, McGuinness, they say it's going to be a pretty good trade draft this year, so maybe McGuinness could go. That's probably why they're waiting on him. But yeah, I think that's one that they could probably look at. Harry Perriman, we just mentioned, with Port Adelaide. Looks like, obviously, it looks like Collingwood are going to be pushing hard for him.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting. Jake Stringer obviously dropped off, and then James Peatling also been looked at by Collingwood. We'll see how that plays out. And out of favour, Essendon midfielder in Ben Hobbs as well.
Yeah, would be a nice option for Collingwood.
Yeah, and then probably the big one on the tall side that Collingwood are really trying to cement up or try and get something there is Ollie Lord or Adam Tomlinson on either side of the field.
Well, if I'm Port Adelaide, you're signing him up.
Yeah.
Even if you have to give him an extra bloody year, I think it would be worth it for Port Adelaide.
Yeah, and then also Dan Houston's obviously been in and out of the race with Collingwood. I feel like
he's out of two, North Melbourne or Carlton.
Yeah, I think that's probably where it's going to be. Looking at Essendon, Dylan Shield obviously as well been talked, like obviously been in and out of the team. Came back at the end of the year I think he'll be okay.
Yeah, well, St Kilda have had interest in him the last couple of seasons.
Well, speaking of St Kilda, it looks like they're kind of throwing more their fish into the Zach Merritt basket. That's not going to happen. No way in hell.
Well, no.
No. Elijah Stardust as well has been maybe potentially looking around. I'm not too sure about that. And Will Setterfield and Sam Wiedemann still remain in contract limbo.
Well, I would get rid of Wiedemann because...
Yeah, I don't know why they played him in the end of the year at half-back. That was just a weird decision. I don't think that was needed. Will Setterfield, I feel like you should sign on for another year. Looking at the players to come in, though, Josh Rotham, Finn McGuinness and Jackson Pryor, which we previously mentioned, they're kind of the trade targets they're looking at. I just feel like at this point Essendon needs to stop just grabbing any sort of player that they can get up and actually try and build towards a final. Try and build a squad that they've got. I mean, I don't mind bringing in players, but it feels like at this point they're just bringing in anyone.
They're just bringing in magnets.
Hoping.
They're just bringing in magnets, put him in different positions and be like, oh yeah, he'll be right there. We'll see what happens. It doesn't happen.
Well, going into the draft this year, Essendon, they've only got pick 8 and pick 28. So they're not really going draft, which is fair enough, but also it's like, you should be challenging for a flag if you're not going in the draft, I think, a little bit anyway. I'm looking at Fremantle, Matt Taberner, Ethan Hughes, Josh Corbett, they're players who have left or delisted. Tom Emmett as well could be seeking a trade back to Port Adelaide. Back to South Australia, so Adelaide or Port Adelaide. That wouldn't be a bad one. I think Tom Emmett brought some good signs throughout the year when he played up forward. Will Brodie, a very interesting one. Still remains contracted at Fremantle, but just doesn't seem to get a go. I feel like they're waiting for Nat Fyfe to retire.
Yeah, it seems like either let him retire and Will Brodie comes in, or
let Will Brodie go.
Yeah, let him go. It's like he struggled to get into the Gold Coast team a couple of years ago, and he just went to the WA. He played a really good season in 22, but he just couldn't get into the team after that.
Yeah, I feel like they're kind of the needy that they're going to pick him or Fyfe, and I think they're not going to drop. They just don't want to drop Fyfe or anything, so that's the point there. I'm looking on the players potentially coming in for Fremantle. Shea Bolton, obviously the big talking point, he wants to get back to Western Australia. Still yet to elect what club he wants to go to, but and now obviously with Andrew McWalter being the West Coast coach, now they're wondering if he's going to decide to go to West Coast, because obviously Liam Baker and Jack Graham have made that decision. I still think that Shea Bolton wants a premiership. I think that he'll go to Fremantle on my feeling, but I still think there's a bit of more to play out here.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I don't mind the fact is that he's waited till now. I think he was waiting to see who would take over as the West Coast coach.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll be interesting which way he wants to go.
Yeah, looking at other players as well, obviously Liam Baker now has decided to go to West Coast. Another one, Jack Martin, has actually gone under a medical for Fremantle, and if he overcomes the injury struggles, could be a pickup as a delisted free agent. And Devon Robertson, which we previously mentioned as well, could be a chance to get to there. And there's obviously a chance as well that Fremantle are going to try and stock up draft picks for next year to look at Chad Warner. So if they want to try and really go hard for that one. But let's hope not on Sydney's side. So looking at Geelong's side, of course, a couple of big players calling on their retirements. Gary Rowan as well, and Brendan Parfitt leaving the club on delisting, and Tom Hawkins, of course. Still a couple of older players still there, but not really a lot of players looking to leave at this stage for Geelong, which is kind of understandable. No one really leaves Geelong. Obviously, the big one on the arrival front, though, is Bailey Smith. I think he still hasn't elected them. But let's be honest, this guy is already in a Geelong. He's already in a Geelong jumper.
Out the door.
He's already looking for houses in Geelong. Yeah. He's gone. Another one as well, Jake Waterman, was kind of looked at, expressing some interest in him. I think that I'm surprised no other clubs really I think Melbourne have looked at him as well.
Yeah.
But I think if you want to get a big forward like him, I think you offer a lot of money. I think he's really the only key forward now that could potentially move. That's got a lot of money around him. I think that's a look at. And Jack Martin as well has been linked to Geelong at times. Obviously Bailey Smith's the big one.
Yeah.
They'll obviously get him, and they'll be up there again. Top 4 chance, top 2 chance, premiership chance. Who the hell knows? It's hard to look at the Geelong sometimes. Oh well. Anyway, players to leave on the Gold Coast front. Jack Lukosius has decided to request a trade to Port Adelaide. Malcolm Roses has been told to look at his options. I think he'll probably. I think he'll probably stay at the end of the day. I think that they won't push him out.
I think with the Lukosius coming out, I think they can't afford to lose Roses.
Yeah. Alex Davies has decided to stay at Gold Coast despite having interest from Collingwood and Geelong. But players looking to arrive. Daniel Rioli and John Noble have requested moves there, so I think that'll happen eventually. They've got to save up some draft picks for Leo Lombard, of course, being an academy pick. But Dustin Martin, what's happening here? I thought there was no way in hell he was going to be moving there, but right now, who the hell knows?
If I'm Gold Coast, I'm not doing it. I think he's past his prime. I think he's past his best years, and it's the Gary Ablett 2.0 if they do it.
Yeah, but I kind of agree with you if they're offering him a lot of money. But if he goes down there at $250,000 a year, $250,000 on a 1-year deal, is it that bad?
No, but I think if you're gonna offer him anything, you offer him a coaching role. You don't offer him that. You don't offer him a player because all he's doing is playing for 1 year for a player that would maybe get some experience in the senior team next year.
Yeah, I don't know. I've always been against it, but as it gets closer, I'm like, and because I thought if he was going to go there, he was going to get huge money, and I was like, there's no point signing him. If there is talk now that potentially he would have to go on very low money, and the talk has kind of cooled down. We haven't really heard much about it in the last week or so. Obviously, it's been really big finals talks. That's maybe why. I kind of lean on the side of I don't think it's a good idea for the Gold Coast, but if they can get him on. I mean, if it was around like a rookie contract, if they get him for that, I'd be like, do it. I mean, look, at the end of the day, I still think he's got a potential to kick your 30, 40 goals. If you play him forward, help out with Ben King, kick some goals, because let's be honest, they don't really have a second that's really helping them out like at the moment. Like Jed Walter's still got a couple of years to go before he gets really into it. And obviously Jack Lukosius is leaving. I wouldn't be too disappointed. I wouldn't be like, oh, it's a dumb decision from the Gold Coast. If they got him for very cheap, if they got him around a rookie contract.
Yeah.
But if he goes on like 500,000, that's just dumb, I think, anyway. Considering he has been pretty injury prone the last year or so. Looking at the Giants, obviously got Harry Perryman, Isaac Cumming, Nick Haynes leaving. James Peatlings could be on the out. We don't really know. And And obviously the big loss on the delisting front was Cooper Hamilton. Absolutely dreadful.
Yeah,
that was a dumb decision.
That was the
I mean, that's the reason why they lost. I think he had that writing on the wall, and they lost in straight sets.
Yeah.
They obviously just shot themselves in the foot. There was karma coming back to get them. Adam, you're an idiot. Stop working on your arms and your biceps, and obviously watch the media team that are putting out absolutely fire content thanks to Cooper Hamilton. You've just let go an absolute star in the making. Anyway, on the players coming in, there's not really a lot talked about on the Giants so far. Basically, the big one is Elliot Himmelberg, if they do want to go at him again. Be honest, I don't think the Giants have to do too much here. I think that's probably their biggest weakness is a second tall forward. I think everything else is probably fair for the Giants. I think that they just went a bit unlucky in the final series.
Yeah, I think maybe this year they just need to attack the draft. Like, just get some more players in. They can get rid of those players that maybe were in their best 22, but just get some cap space, and then next year go for what they want and see what other players are out there. Because everyone seems to be setting up for where they want to go already. They don't just
before the Tassie team as well. Yeah. I think that's what they're setting up for now. I
think they've just got to set up for that.
Looking at Hawthorn, Sam Frost has really been the only one that's been talked about leaving from their main 22. Obviously, Sydney and St Kilda have had interest in Sam Frost. He's quite old though, so he's 31, I think going on 32 next year, so that will be an interesting one. I think that if I was Sydney, I would kind of look at it, to be honest. I think he's a decent look at, but wouldn't be pushing too hard. Wouldn't be throwing a huge amount of money at him. Denver Granger Barras remains without a deal for 2025. Was a pick 6, I believe, when he got drafted in 2020. His home state is WA, so I think they're going to wait till the end of the trade period to see if they can fill a couple of list spots, the Hawks, and then maybe let him go.
Well, it would be interesting because obviously with Barras likely to go to Hawthorn
and Josh Battle.
Yeah, and Josh Battle. Granger Barras will probably leave, but see what options he can go. Maybe he can go back to WA and go to West Coast.
I feel like at this point that maybe that's probably what's going to happen. I feel like he'll be a part of the deal with Tom Barras.
Yeah,
I think they'll probably be a part of the deal. They have to get a decent pick and Granger Barras, and then they'll get Tom Barras.
Yeah.
I think that's how it will probably play out. Like I said, Josh Battle and Tom Barras are the real looking at for Hawthorn. Harry Perryman was a little bit in talks with Hawthorn, but it's kind of tapered off now. And the other one was Bailey Smith. They were basically the second team, basically the bridesmaids to Geelong. I don't think they're going to go to Hawthorn. It is surprising that Bailey Smith hasn't elected a club yet, but I feel like that's inevitable.
You should just know it will have to be his injury because we all knew he was going.
Or maybe he's going to do one of those NBA draft sort of things when he puts the two hats in front of him.
Yeah.
And then he'll be like, I'm going to Geelong, baby.
Yeah.
And then just takes his shirt off to get all these 14-year-old girls excited about him.
Yeah.
Anyway, on to Melbourne. Oh, fucking hell. Petrarca, Viney, Pickett were 3 names that were on and off about going. Petrarca basically was held at gunpoint. He's not going. Viney, just milked out an extra deal on his contract. Good on him. And Keziah Pickett, don't really know what he was thinking about. He was like, yeah, no. So he didn't. Eventually, I think he's staying. Alex Neil-Bullen is the one who has requested a trade back to the Crows for family reasons. Adam Tomlinson is a free agent. He is expected to actually leave Melbourne. I think he's 30 years of age now. So, he could be picked up. If I was Sydney, I'd be looking at him. I think a couple of top clubs could definitely look at him as a potential option. Joel Smith, he's gone. I think he's without a contract for 2025.
There's no way. Well, actually, they probably would sign him.
Yeah. Who the fuck knows at this point? Lockie Hunter also retired as well. Now, players on wanting to come to Melbourne. Dan Houston obviously they were the major team linked to Dan Houston for a lot of this year. And then all the Petrarca stuff coming out. And then he was like, look, I think I'll stay at Port Adelaide.
Yeah, maybe that's why he said it. Yeah, I'm staying at Port Adelaide.
Yeah.
And then,
So they're also looking at, obviously they got the trade request from Wade Dirksen from GWS, a very weird one. They also are likely to look at journeyman Tom Campbell as a delisted free agent to cover for Max Gawn. Obviously, this guy, Tom Campbell's been at nearly every club in Victoria as a delisted free agent. He's been at the Bulldogs, North Melbourne, St Kilda. I think that's it. But I mean, he's covered 3 of them. He's going to be he could potentially be in a 4th club. And also, the Demons are potentially looking at Lee Kalia. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, it is an interesting one. I think that he was only in the team when a big defender came out. So
yeah, So I think that could be an interesting one to look at. And also Brandon Parfitt could also be looked at as a delisted free agent. Don't mind that idea as well. Trying to fill up some spots. Looking at North Melbourne, Curtis Taylor. Weird decision to delist him. I thought he was a pretty decent player, Curtis Taylor.
Yeah.
So he's obviously delisted. Newen has been delisted from North Melbourne after 1 year after coming over from Richmond.
Very weird thing to even pick him up. But.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Big one they're talking about coming in is Luke Parker. After that grand final, Sydney need to do something to keep him at the club. I know that's so weird for a guy who's played there for so many years and is probably on the end of his career, but they need to do something to keep him. And Jack Darling obviously has requested a move to West Coast, from West Coast to North Melbourne to help out Nick Larkey a bit more. And then two big ones, Caleb Daniel is expected to, could potentially move to the North Melbourne. I feel like that's a big money move. That feels like a Dylan Stevens, we'll give you all the cash in the world, just come to the club, please. And Dan Houston as well. So, I don't know. I feel like if Dan Houston wants to move to Victoria, eventually he'll be like, if it's only Carlton and North Melbourne coming at me, he's going to be like, look, I just want to request a trade to Carlton, please. Don't let me go to North Melbourne, unless they're offering him like $2 million. Yeah. So, I feel like that's another one. But I know, as you would say, Port Adelaide, you would rather be trading with them.
I think that because obviously they've got the higher picks.
Well, yeah, I mean, do you think Dan Houston's worth a pick too? I don't think so. I mean,
But you're gonna.
He's a dual All Australian.
If he was in Victoria, it'd be talked about longer. So we'll see next year.
I mean, he is the Nick Dacos of South Australia. I agree with you.
Yeah. If he didn't do this, if he didn't get suspended for doing such a stupid act.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I think Isaac Rankin flopped a little.
We beat the Swans in that prelim, and we go to the grand final, and we lose by 30 points.
Yeah, I think knowing you guys, you would have been bloody smashed by 100. Yeah, you'd be like, let's try and beat the record.
Yeah, if we beat, we'd increase our record.
So a couple of players on Port Adelaide. Moving to next couple of players that are looking to leave is Dan Houston wants to trade back to Victoria. Ivan Soldo, after 1 year in South Australia, wants to move back to Victoria after his girlfriend left him.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, he's like, I don't like this state, so I'm going back to Melbourne. So I'm leaving.
And then his girlfriend was. Well, I think they were still together. They were doing long distance.
Yeah, she said, "Oh, it's such a boring state. I don't want to be here." She left.
She has a point though. I mean, I'm from South Australia, and I can have that saying, but also, yeah. Anyway, shouldn't have came here in the first place. To be honest, they should have fucking never done it anyway, because they were always into Sweet anyway, and then eventually he took over. So anyway, sorry, a little bit of like tea for you. Oh, that's so cringe. Anyway, and players wanting to look at Port Adelaide, Harry Perryman could, I think it's 50-50 now in Collingwood.
Money and
and then we've got Jack Lukosius. Do you think that's a good one for Port?
Yeah, I do. I think he can play a bit of any role at forward or back.
Yeah,
he's a lovely field kick.
Yeah, he just has to find consistency. I think.
I think maybe a new environment coming home. I think that the Crows thought their relationship was better, but I guess Rosie's relationship with him is actually stronger.
Oh yeah, real best buddies. Anyway, looking at small forwards for Port Adelaide, Joe Richards from Collingwood and Riley Garcia from the Western Bulldogs are reportedly targets in the off-season for power.
They're better than Jed McEntee and Francis Evans.
Yeah, I think they're definitely decent pickups if they want to go for that as well. Looking at Richmond, what an off-season they have. Shea Bolton looking to return to WA. I still think that's Fremantle. Baker and Graham are going to West Coast, and then Daniel Rioli looks to reunite with Damien Hardwick at the Gold Coast. A couple of players still haven't been signed yet is Camden McIntosh, Noah Cumberland, Thomas Dow, Matt Coulthard, Colina, and Hayes Brown. I don't know the last two, but the last three actually. But yeah,
it'll be interesting on McIntosh. I think they may move him on.
I think they have to hold him. Like, they can't just lose every experienced player.
Yeah, but I think that it's a position that I think they can cover with some. I think they need to just take every hit now and hit rock bottom, and then look to go up. I think if players that they don't see in the future, that they don't see in the next finals campaign, probably 5 to 6 years, they've just got to cut them now, because obviously with the new team in Tasmania, you might as well hit rock bottom now.
Yeah, I don't know. I still think you hold Camden McIntosh, but we'll see how that plays out. Looking at players potentially coming to Richmond, looking at two Essendon midfielders, which we mentioned earlier, Ben Hobbs and Sardis. There's not really going to be a lot that Richmond are going to be able to get, I think, from trade at the moment. I feel like players kind of know unless you're going to get offered a bit of money. Yeah. I mean, they are a big Melbourne club, a Victorian club, so maybe there's a look at. But I think that if they can get anyone, like if they can get a Ben Hobbs or a Stardust, I think that'd be a very good start.
Well, I'm surprised that especially Hobbs didn't get a lot. He didn't get a lot of game time in the midfield, but I think he could have played a role in the Essendon team.
Yeah,
a lot more than he did.
Yeah, well, looking at it, Richmond, obviously, at the moment, inside the first 40 picks, have picked 1, 21, 29 and 39. But that's going to be... They're going to get stacks more picks, obviously, with Baker and Bolton coming up. So yeah. I think they'll be fine, Richmond.
Compensation from Jack Graham.
Yeah, exactly. So looking at St Kilda players looking to leave is Josh Battle, obviously a big one. And Tim Membry, still looking to assess his options. He's been linked to Essendon. So that's an interesting one, looking at that. And then maybe they're looking at Jake Stringer as potentially coming in the other way. I don't know about that. And then obviously Zach Merritt's been the big talking point. Yeah. They've been trying to flop out their meat, basically, St Kilda. Their big war chest. They're like, come to the club, please. Yeah. So Zach Merritt's been the big talking one. They're obviously flagged in the past. Hugh McCluggage, Davies Uniacke. Not really looking at them. They're obviously not going there. Jack McRae has said he wants to be traded to St Kilda. I think it's actually a pretty good one for St Kilda.
Yeah, they're saying that they want the Bulldogs want pick. I think it's 53 or something. So
he's haggling over 43 here.
43, yeah. I don't think he's worth that.
Oh no,
I don't think he's worth that. I think that they're not playing him. It's like with Freo and Geelong when Jordan Clark. They wanted a first rounder for him when they weren't playing him in the team. It's the same thing here.
Yeah, it's like you can't ask for that, bro.
It's like you can't ask him that. You weren't playing him in the team. You played him as the sub for the most of the games that you played in this year.
Yeah.
Like if you're not going to keep him, he's picked whatever later than that.
Yeah. Looking at other players as well, Adam Tomlinson and Jaden Laverde have been looked at.
I think they need those sort of players.
I think the depth, like defenders, they could definitely use.
Yeah, I think, but also you can look at it as like, is that the position they need a bolster? I think they need to bolster some other positions.
Yeah, true. I mean, their midfield is definitely something that's lacking. I think that's why they're definitely looking at it. They're trying to get someone.
Yeah, they want that big midfielder.
They've been linked to Finn Callahan as well. They obviously want to offer him a lot of money. I think it's actually a decent look at.
Yeah.
And then Ivan Soldo is really the other one.
That's not what they need to look at.
Is it like a second forward, maybe? Maybe it's like a second. I don't know.
Maybe. He was a pretty decent forward.
Yeah. And also looking at Dan Houston and Dylan Shield. I think Dylan Shield they should be trying to go a bit harder for, to be honest. I think that I know he's a bit older, but I think he definitely adds that sort of kicking skills that towards the end of the year, St Kilda started to show that they were using their foot skills a lot better.
I think they utilised more the Wanganeen Malera a bit more. I think.
So I think if they did have a Dylan Shield to help out as well.
Yeah.
Looking to Sydney now. Players looking to leave. Luke Parker looks all but certain now to be landing at North Melbourne. Peter Adams has basically been told to assess his options after being stuck behind Brodie Grundy. Please go.
I think he was pushed out the door at Port Adelaide. I don't know if he'll come back. He might just come back to South Australia
I mean, do the Crows need a ruckman?
Well, they keep on saying that they don't want Riley O'Brien. They want Phil Thorpe to take that position. It's like, true. They want him down forward.
Yeah. Looking at the Swans potentially bringing in players. First one is Jake Stringer. Please, for the love of God, Sydney, don't pick up Jake Stringer. He's good for 4 or 5 good games a year. We don't need that. I'm sorry, we don't need that. We've got Will Hayward there. He's that role anyway, and plus he's quicker. Now, Jake Stringer, very good on his day, but he wants a 2-year deal. He's contract Stringer. He's not going to be good in the first year. He's going to be at Macca's most nights, let's be honest. So, no. Anyway, Finn McGuinness and Sam Frost have also been looked at by the Swans. I don't mind Finn McGuinness as an option. I think that if Sydney were going to grab him, I think that adds a little bit of midfield depth. Could be a tagger for Sydney, which gives James Jordan a little bit more opportunity to play elsewhere. Give him more because he's a bit more better of a runner. I think that he could be used as a better option on as a potential option somewhere. So I don't mind that idea. And Sam Frost, I wouldn't mind him coming as a bit of depth, but who would he take over for at Sydney? I think Melican had a really good year, and so did Tom McCartan. So he would basically have to come over for Rampy, which is like he's not doing that. And then I think Sydney would go in too tall in defence if Frost came in as well. So I think I don't know how that's going to play out.
Change to the role of Blakey or something.
Yeah, but I feel like that's not really needed.
No.
But I think, again, he's also... They're two different players. And obviously, Sam Frost... He's more. I mean, yes, he is quick, but he's definitely a tall defender.
Well, when he's quick, he normally fucks up. That's normally what
Yeah,
everyone
that's
says.
true. Yeah, you don't really want to go around Frost when he's running off halfback. You're like, oh shit, where's this one going?
Yeah.
Looking at West Coast players that are looking to leave, Tom Barrass obviously wanted to make his way to Hawthorn. If you didn't lie to him in that last trade period, the Swans could have had Tom Barrass. Fucking dogs. Anyway, Josh Rotham has been attracting interest from Essendon, like we said. Witherden and Jai Cully Witherden, Jai Cully, and Luke Edwards being the ones without a contract at this stage. I mean, let's be honest, I don't know if they're going to say, who knows, they're probably on the outer, but again, they don't really have a lot of depth players, so who really knows? And Jake Waterman's been the one who's been looked around.
They need to keep him somehow.
Yeah, somehow, just keep him. And like in 3 years' time, him and Oscar Allen are going to be the best duo forwards in the comp. I think.
Call it now.
Well, I mean, I think they're going to be one of the most dangerous ones. Like, even this year, even though West Coast sucked for a lot of it, those two were really good.
You get all Australian.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And Oscar Allen, I think he's better than Jake Waterman. So I think, those two, they need to stay. Anyway, looking at players that could be arriving, Liam Bacon, Jack Graham obviously have requested moves there. Riley Garcia's been looked around as a potential option at West Coast because he is Western Australian. Matt Owies as well has been looked at. Jack Carroll, James Peatling, and Devin Robertson. So there's a lot of players that could potentially go to West Coast in the off-season. So I don't think it is all doom and gloom, but again, they need to build out their depth. Their only 3 picks in the draft are pick 3, 23, and 59. So they need to build out their depth here, West Coast. They can't, because the thing is, you can have a good stack of 15 players, but if you don't have depth and you get 3 injuries, which we've seen in previous years for West Coast, they're going to be irrelevant.
Yeah.
So, and then the last club, finally, we get to the Western Bulldogs. Bailey Smith, can we just admit that why has he not came out and said he's going to go to Geelong? Is there something in the contract that Cotton On aren't letting off? Are they you have to do weird fireman calendars and he's not willing to do it? It's why is he not requested to Geelong yet? They're not offering enough for the shirtless pics, obviously. They're he wants more money he wants more sponsored posts on Instagram. I think that's what it is. That's what the thing is. Jack McRae's obviously requested his trade to move. Caleb Daniel probably going to move, I think, at the end of the year. North Melbourne's obviously the favourite. Intrigue still remains around Rory Lobb. I mean, this guy was basically not even anywhere near the team at the start of the year. Now he's one of the best defenders that people are talking about.
You could look at it if on because you can play him anywhere you want, really. You can play him, as we saw.
But I mean, would you want to play him forward? I mean, he hasn't done very well.
You never know. He might have you just need some bit of confidence, and you never know. But I think that if you're going to do it, you need to know that you're going to play him there, and not like Port Adelaide and be like, oh, Salvatore Alec plays defense in the VFL. He'd be great in the AFL team. Yeah.
What do you think? Port Adelaide should go look at Rory Lobb?
No, because I think like I said, I think we did that role with Asava.
Yeah. So looking at players potentially arriving at the Dogs, Tom Barrass was missed out by them, which is a pretty big one because I think they do need to fill up that defensive area. Adam Tomlinson, I think would be a good idea. There's one who's been linked. James Peatling's just been named to everyone. Everyone is involved in him. And then that's basically it for the Western Bulldogs. So looking at it right now, that's basically all the trade targets for every single club. Let us know down below, guys, what players you guys want to get to your team in the off-season.